Heavenly Father, the entrance of your word gives life and increases understanding. May the word of my mouth and the meditation of our hearts be acceptable unto you, O God, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. Amen. Good morning.
Good morning.
There is an old Middle Eastern fable about a donkey and a horse. According to the story, the donkey carried all his master's burdens, even though he was very old and weak, while the horse walked alongside without a thing on his back. In a very weak and poor state of health, the donkey said to the horse, "If you will share this burden, I might just live. But without any help, I will die." The horse shook his head and said disdainfully, "It's your job. It's your job. It's your job to carry the whole burdens. It's not mine. Keep moving. Don't bother me." So the donkey walked along in silence, and not long after, he fell down and died. At once, the farmer transferred the whole burden to the horse's back, along with the dead donkey's valuable skin. The horse then groaned and said, "What a terrible mistake I have made. If only I had agreed to carry a part of the burden. Now I have to carry the whole thing." The topic of my morning message is the Great Invitation. The Great Invitation. In the gospel passage we just read this morning, Jesus said, "Come unto me, all of you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you. Let me teach you, because I am humble and gentle at heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy to bear, and the burden I give you is light." The key words in these statements of Jesus are rest and yoke. The word rest originates from Greek anapausi. Anapausi means to calm, to comfort, and to refresh. It reflects the Old Testament concept of rest as released from the pressures and tensions of life and of the peace that follows. On the other hand, a yoke is a wooden frame that fits over the shoulders of draft animals, harnessing them to each other and to the plow they pull together. In fact, when you will see a yoked animal, is predominantly in a place or in a country known for farming, because they yoke the animals together for farming. Shearing a burden together makes more sense, but only if we realize that part of the burden is ours in the first place. The horse says to the donkey, "It's your burden. I have nothing to do with that. Carry it. Let me alone. Do your work. I am free. I'm a free person. So don't call me." In our individualistic society, we often think we are responsible for ourselves and nobody else. But that's not a new thing anyway. Because I remembered came asking God in the book of Genesis if he was really expected to be his brother's keeper. That was the question Cain asked God when God called him and said, Cain, where is your brother? Am I my brother's keeper? Cain asks God. Recognizing that we all have a stake in each other's lives was part of the reason that at the signing of the Declaration of Independence on July 4th, 1776, just as we celebrated the 238th anniversary of American independence last Friday, 2 days ago, Benjamin Franklin said, "We must all hang together, or assuredly we will all hang separately." But not everyone sees the world that way. For some, burdens are for other people. Indeed, they willingly set up burdens and barriers for others. It will seem out of spite, as we can see all over the world. Some are born to suffer. Some are born to enjoy. That is the world we live in. The great invitation is the topic. Jesus says that his yoke is easy to bear, and the burden he gives is light. Being yoked to Christ means to rely on him, to give him our burdens, and to accept the necessity of walking with him side by side. The Pharisees of Jesus' time placed heavy loads on people's shoulders by insisting on a legalistic interpretation of the law. And today, it's still the same. To what can I compare this generation? Asks Jesus. It is like children playing a game in the public square. They complain to their friends, "We played wedding songs and you didn't dance. So we played funeral songs and you didn't mourn." There is nothing the church does that the world will concur to, because it is not their way. The ways of the world tend to be different from the ways of the church. In other words, the ways of God is different from the ways of the world. The world will tell you that the ways of the church is old-fashioned. The world will tell you that there is separation of church and state, and yet we have the symbols of church and state in all houses of worship in this country. This is state. So if there is separation of church and state, what is the state doing right in the church? That is the church, the symbol of the church. That flag there. So you see, you have the church and the state in the house of worship. There is no house of worship in this country. You will go and you will not see this. So if people believe that there is separation of church and state, it's only on paper. Because you are the church, and at the same time, you are the state. So therefore, you cannot separate one from the other. You cannot separate yourself from the other, because you made up the both church and state. Separation of each is kind of on paper. This generation, says Jesus, wants the easiest way of life without any atom of sacrifice. This generation dream big, but do little or nothing to bring their big dream to limelight. In Romans chapter 7, verse 15, we read this morning, Paul confesses, "I don't really understand myself, for I want to do what is right, but I don't do it. Instead, I do what I hate. For I do not do the good I want to do, but evil I do not want to do. This I keep on doing. Now, if I do what I do not want to do, it is no longer I who do it, but it is sin living in me that does it. This is the work of the devil, who avows to destroy those who are spiritually asleep. What you want to do, you find it difficult doing them. And those things you don't want to do are the easiest things you find yourself doing. Why? Why? Why is it like that? It's because of sin living in us. And that's why Jesus has given us a great invitation this morning. He's now extended a wonderful invitation to you and I. But it remains for us to answer or not to answer. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, African American males ages 10 to 24 are the victims of murder at a rate almost 19 times than that of their non-Hispanic and white American peers. And Hispanic and Latino American males in this same age group are 6 times more likely to be victimized than their non-Hispanic white American peer group. The U.S. Department of Education's Office of Civil Rights reports that nearly 1 in 4 boys of color, except for Latino and Asian American students with disabilities, have at some point been suspended from schools. 1 in 4 African American boys suspended from schools. Not only that, 86% of black boys read below proficiency in 4th grade. 86% is almost 100%. 86% of black boys read below proficiency in 4th grade, to compare with 82% of Spanish boys and 56% of white boys. For I do not do the good I want to do, but the evil I do not want to do, this I keep on doing. Now, if I do what I do not want to do, it is no longer I who do it, but it is sin living in me that does it, says Apostle Paul. That is exactly what we see in our world today. Our people, our young people, if you ask them, they will tell you from the bottom of their hearts, they don't like doing drugs. They will tell you, they don't like joining gangs. They will tell you, they don't like guns. But they see themselves doing those things. Because it's not them. They are not the ones doing it. It is something in them that propels them to do it. I do prison ministry every Tuesday. I go to Garden State Youth Correctional Facility in Yardley between 5 and 9 p.m. Started with 6 young inmates in 2011. Last Tuesday before last, we were 261 members in that program. 70% of them are African Americans. African American young men between ages 18 and 25. 20% Hispanics. 10% whites. Why? Do you know that some prisons in this country are owned by individuals? Do you know that some individuals make a hell of money through prisons and jails? So in other words, the more people they have in jails and prisons, the more money they make. So how do you think they will stop? How do you think they will stop? And their victims are almost people of color. I don't think it is right for someone to tell you, you will die tonight. And you say, yes, I will die tonight. If someone tells you, you will die tonight, you will book it and say, no, you are not the owner of my life. I'm not going to die tonight. But unfortunately, I see it happening. Someone might say, you will die tonight. And you say, oh, okay, I will die tonight. And you go and die. That's exactly what is happening. People lay burdens on others, and you see it, and you still go into it. Why? We have work to do by accepting the great invitation of Jesus Christ this morning. What is happening to our young people? In a just concluded UBE National Conference last week, the keynote speaker states that if African American populace were their own nation, their own country, it would rank 16 in the whole world with HIV/AIDS. We, black people, African Americans, if we are to be our own country, we should be 16 ranked in HIV/AIDS in the whole world. Why? Why is it like that? President Obama, during his inaugural speech at recently introduced My Brother's Keeper initiatives, calls on all Americans, especially communities of color, to enter into a long-term commitment of mentoring our young boys of color in order to help change the trajectory of their future. Great invitation. Jesus is inviting us into partnering with him as we continue our life in the world. In our preceding story, the donkey, in his weakness of body, says to the horse, if you will share this burden, I might just live. But without any help, I will die. And Jesus beckons us in the gospel and says, come to me, all of you who are weary and carry heavy burdens. I will give you rest. He goes on to say, take my yoke upon you. Let me teach you, because I am humble and gentle at heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy to bear, and my body is light. I will teach you. Who teaches you? Where do you go? Here, Jesus is not talking about physical rest, but spiritual. In our world, there is no peace, but in Jesus, there is. He said it. John chapter 16, verse 33. In the world, you will have tribulations, you have troubles, you have problems, but in me, you will have peace. But be of good cheer, because I have overcome the world. In Jesus, peace. In the world, trouble. Most people are weary in their spirits today. Many are troubled and agitated in their souls. And they try to find rest and security in all the wrong places. Some look to a mate to seek for help. Some, a bottle or a pill. Some, to friends, pleasure, entertainment, even jobs and money. That's what they look for. Seeking help where there's no help. People look everywhere and try everything in their efforts to find rest for their souls. Nothing, I repeat, nothing and no one in this world can give us the peace and the rest we seek. While people run here and there trying to find peace, Jesus says so simply and so calmly, come to me. and I will give you rest. Come to me. The great invitation. It depends on you to choose whom to go to for help and support. But one thing is certain, as isolated as our young people appear sometimes, they need community. They need community. They need mentors. They need Christians who can be there for them, who can lead them to God. They need nurturers, those who could nurture them and show them the new way and pattern of life. They need volunteers who could pair up with them to lead them to that place of rest, solitude, and peace, which only could be found in Jesus, because you could not find it any other place. Don't be the horse who shook his head and disdainfully says, don't trouble me, don't bother me. Don't fold your hands and say, oh, I don't have young people. I don't have young children. So it's not my responsibility. I don't have any role to play. Whatever touches the nose automatically reaches the mouth, because the nose and the mouth are interconnected. So whatever touches here has gone down the mouth. So whatever happens around you, even though you might say, I don't have children, so it's not my responsibility. It's your responsibility, because you are a person of color. You are a person of color. So you should stand out and let the world know that you can make it. You can make a difference in your world and be a contributing factor to your community, anywhere you find yourself. Paul encourages us and says, dear brothers and sisters, if anyone or if another believer is overcome by some sin, you who are godly should gently and humbly help that person back onto the right path. And be careful not to fall into the same temptation yourself. Share each other's burden, and in this way obey the law of Jesus Christ, the great invitation. Are you willing to accept the invitation that Jesus has extended to us today, that we should come to him? All of us who are weary and are carrying heavy loads, that he's going to give us rest. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready to accept the great invitation and be able to share the burden of others, so that it will lessen, so that they will find a bit relief in their lifestyle? If you are, may God bless, may God help you, may God make you that person that the young people out there will look up to and say, yes, I have found a true mentor. Amen.
Amen.